So let's look at number 9 and number 10. Okay, number 9 is on your notes. It's actually in this box on your page. So you can follow it or you can try it again. Number 10, if you want to add it, that'll just be more practice for you. But hopefully that's enough examples after we do this that you will be more comfortable and you can keep following it with the rest of the problems. All right, so our phrase is factor first. So when we do this problem, we need to factor both denominators first in order to compare them. So when I factor them, I'm going to go ahead and just make them a lot longer. That way I can also do the common denominator afterwards. So if we need to, we can say, okay, well, what multiplies to negative 12 and adds to negative 1? Okay, x is already in the numerator. Let me get that one down as well. All right, so those numbers are a negative 4 and a positive 3. So that's x plus 4, and that's, excuse me, minus 4. And that's x plus 3. Okay? And again, I've left some room so we can also do the common denominator afterwards. All right, here, it's just GCF in our factoring. So the GCF of this is a 12. So we're left with x minus 4. All right, so now we ask ourselves, what is this one missing that this one has? All right, and we can tell that that would be a 12. So we multiply a 12 on top and on bottom. So what is, let me use this, what is this one missing that this one has? They both have 12 now, they both have x minus 4, but it's missing the x plus 3. So if I do it on bottom, I need to also put it on top. So now we have factored first, got the denominators, compared them to get the common denominator. So now we simplify. So we go through. Our common denominator is, I'm going to put the 12 first, because we usually lead with our coefficients with numbers. Now let me put x minus 4 and x plus 3 on here. So now let's just do this numerator, which would tell us it's 12x. And then we're going to add this. We're going to distribute, so we would get 5x plus 15. All right, so the nice thing about this one, I can already tell, is that it's not, if we have to factor last, it's not going to be that hard because there's no squared, there's no x squared. So we're not going to have to worry about factoring a trinomial. So that makes it a little bit shorter, a little bit easier on us. But we can combine those two because they're like terms. So that's 17 plus 15. And our denominator is 12 times x minus 4 times x plus a 3. And in this case, 17 and 15 don't even have a GCF, so there's no factoring last because there's nothing we can do. So this one ended right here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write it here. That way, when I do that problem, if I need some room, they won't run into one another because I don't want you guys to accidentally blend the two problems. I want you to follow what I'm doing. So let me get this one out of the way. That way we've got all kinds of room to work on this one, okay? So now this one, factor first, factor last. So the denominator, let's make sure you know that these are two separate problems. So let's factor the denominator of each, denominator of each one. After you say it so many times, it kind of sounds funny. All right, so the denominator of this one, when we factor, okay, again, if you want to, what multiplies to 4 and adds to 4, well, those are pretty easy. That's 2 and 2. You might not have had to write that one down. So x plus 2 and x plus 2. I left a little bit of space so that we can get that extra term, so we'll find out. Actually, I think I'm going to need some more space, so let me scoot that over. So, x plus 2 and x plus 2. All right, so this one's a pattern, so that factors to x plus 2 and x minus 2. Remember, square root the x squared and square root the 4. All right, so our numerators are x plus 1 and minus 6. So remember, whatever we do over here, we're going to be subtracting it. So now that I've factored first, now let's get that common denominator. So we ask ourselves, what is this one missing when you compare it to that one? Well, that is an x minus 2. So since I had to bring in a binomial on top and I already had one, we are going to need to group that up so that we can multiply them to each other, and that would take our Punnett square. Okay, now let's look at this one and we ask ourselves, what is this one missing? Well, it is missing a second x plus 2. So x plus 2. So that means we need to do that on top. Alright, so now we've got our common denominator, we have adjusted our numerators. Now we have to do a bunch of multiplying and simplifying before we can finish it. So, so when we multiply this one, it's going to take a Punnett square, unless you've gotten used to it and you can kind of do it on your own. I'll just do the Punnett square over here to the side. So it is x and 1 and x minus 2. So that's x squared, x minus 2x, and minus 2. So when we write that as the numerator, so our denominator is x plus 2, x plus 2, and x minus 2. Alright, our numerator, this that I multiplied over there, is now x squared minus x minus 2, because I combined those two. And then the second part, okay, is subtracting. Okay, we distribute, so we get 6 times x, so we're subtracting 6x. Oh, that's all right. And be careful, we are also going to subtract the 12, because it's subtracting this entire numerator. So we're going to subtract the 6x and subtract the 12. Alright, so then before we can factor, we need to get we need to get that cleaned up so that we can see if it'll factor. So let's rewrite that. There's nothing that will pair with x squared, so we're just going to rewrite that right here. Okay, negative x and negative 6x is negative 7x. Negative x, negative 6x. Negative 2 and negative 12 is negative 14. Alright, so now our denominator is x plus 2, x plus 2, and x minus 2. We may be done, but we're not sure. We need to see, we factored first. Now that we're here, we've got our trinomial, we need to factor last. So, does anything multiply to negative 14, yet add to negative 7? So while we know 1 and 14 won't work regardless of which one's positive and negative. Okay, then the only other options we have are 2 and 7. But unfortunately, if one of those negative, and actually it really wouldn't matter, but if one of them is negative, that's not going to add to negative 7. So for us, it looks like this one will not factor. So that is our final answer, x squared minus 7x minus 14 all over x plus 2, x plus 2, and x minus 2. So that is our final answer. Okay, I just rewrote it so that it was a little bit easier to see. So this is the same thing. So that way you can just kind of see it line by line. Alright, it's a lot of steps: factoring, multiplying, simplifying, factoring again. Okay, so it's a lot of steps, but we just have to take it one piece at a time. Alright?